Taoiseach, I'd like to change topic to another important and pressing issue. In just a matter of weeks, the special liquidator in IBRC is planning to sell more than 13,000 mortgages on the open market. Now, I've met with some of the families involved, people like Denise McCormick and Mike Hurrell, who were featured on Prime Time last night. Now, Taoiseach, the families have two concerns. The first is they're not going to be allowed bid for their own mortgages. The special liquidator plans on selling their mortgages in batches of several thousand at a discount, but under the current plan, that discount will be turned into profits for large international financial firms rather than benefiting thousands of Irish families as it could. And the second concern these families have is that when their mortgages are sold, the families are going to be stripped of very important protections from the Central Bank, the Code of Conduct of Mortgage Arrears, the Financial Ombudsman. Now, Taoiseach, as you know, this is already the case for many Irish families. Apollo Global Management from the US and Pepper Group from Australia have already bought thousands of Irish mortgages. Both firms are voluntarily conforming to the Central Bank guidelines, and both firms are to be congratulated for doing so. But unlike domestic banks, they don't have to. The families, Taoiseach, who own the Irish nationwide mortgages are afraid, and they're right to be afraid, because depending on who buys their loans, they could find their interest rates jacked up, or they could find themselves in court on repossession hearings. And if this happens, under current law, they have no protection from the Central Bank, no protection from the Ombudsman. Under the IBRC legislation that was passed here last year, Minister Noonan has the power to direct the special liquidator to allow these families bid for their own loans at the market price. But when I asked the Minister in October if he would exercise that power, he refused. And he cited advice that it would be more efficient, amongst other things, to sell the loans in batches. Taoiseach, I hope you would agree with me that a little administrative complexity is a small price to pay for helping thousands of Irish families in this situation. So I have two questions. The first is, do you agree that the Irish nationwide mortgage holders should be allowed bid for their own mortgages at whatever discount is being offered to international financial firms? And secondly, can you give a commitment to the House to introduce legislation urgently which will guarantee that all mortgage holders in Ireland have the same level of protection from the Central Bank, the Code of Conduct of Mortgage Arrears and the Ombudsman? Thank you.
Thank you.
Deputy Donnelly, Minister Noonan dealt with this in questions just some short time ago. The special liquidators have full responsibility for determining how the assets of IBRC are sold, and in arriving at these decisions they've considered the cases made from both borrowers and professional independent advice on each of the portfolios in the mortgage area. And the decision to offer the residential mortgage book for sale in a portfolio was also arrived at, having regard to the scale of the process and the size of the IBRC loan book. Furthermore, the decision to sell the loans as part of a portfolio is more efficient and a more efficient method of disposal, and the one which is most likely to give best results in terms of the ultimate sales of the special liquidators, having regard to the public interest. Interference by the state in these matters could lead to challenge from other creditors in the bank. So, as the Minister set out, the continued applicability of the Central Bank Code on Conduct on Mortgage Arrears of the CCMA in respect of the IBRC residential mortgage portfolio depends on the regulatory status of whoever acquires the portfolio at the end of the process. So I'm advised that, for instance, should the portfolio be sold to NAMA, that they will be mindful of the general market norms that apply when determining their strategy for managing the portfolios. And Minister Noonan has instructed the Department of Finance to examine the issue in consultation with the Central Bank, with a view to bringing forward a solution to the problem. This is a complex legal issue, and it will require some pretty careful consideration. We will not know the regulatory status, Deputy Donnelly, of the ultimate acquirer of the portfolio until the sales process has been concluded. And the outcome of the sales process will determine, therefore, what, if anything, needs to be done at that point. For example, in the event that NAMA acquire the loan book, NAMA is likely to apply best practice in this regard. There were 17,411 residential loans in IBRC at the end of May, outstanding to more than 13,000 customers. So it's understandable that many mortgage owners might be interested in buying their loans. The cost and the practicalities involved would make it both difficult and costly to go down that particular road. Taxpayers have already incurred far too high a price from this bank, and no further cost should be imposed upon them. So it's important to note that the special liquidators have confirmed that all borrowers are permitted to repay their mortgage at par value, and that here are no legislative barriers for such borrowers to do so. So the decision to package loans, as outlined by the Minister, for sale by way of portfolios is not limited only to the residential mortgage book. Similar decisions were taken in the commercial UK books in order to maximise sales realisations for the special liquidators. So as the process is underway, Deputy Donnelly, clearly you won't know who the ultimate acquirer of the loan book is until the process is finished. And as the Minister has already notified the central bank in regard to this, I think it might be appropriate to see what solution, if any, is necessary following the conclusion of the process.
Thank you. Deputy Donnelly.
Thank you, Taoiseach. I have to say, were I one of these families, I would be despairing at that answer. We do know what's going to happen. We know that none of the domestic banks are going to buy the loans. If NAMA buys them, or if Apollo buys them, or if some vulture fund in New York buys them, none of the potential buyers are covered by the central bank regulation. None of them. We know that. We know that's what's going to happen. So a wait and see after the contract has been signed is not good enough. I can't imagine how frustrating it must be to be one of the owners of these 14,000 mortgages around Ireland and to hear the government say the following: listen, we gave Irish Nationwide more than €5 billion, dead money. We gave it to make sure that every single one of the bondholders are covered. Your government, 18 months ago, stood over a €900 million bond payout for a bond that was bought in 2007. An unguaranteed bond. So there's 900 million if you invested in Irish Nationwide in 2007. But now, when these people are saying, can we just buy our own loan? We are terrified that some firm from somewhere abroad is going to buy the loan. Can I just buy it? That the answer from the government, when you say, look, we are going to sell, we're going to let the special liquidator sell your mortgage for 90 cents in the euro or 50 cents in the euro. That's what we're going to do. But we're not going to let you buy it at that amount because it's too complicated and it's too expensive. Taoiseach, there's no trade-off. This is potentially a win-win. There is no trade-off between getting the best price for the mortgage and helping these families and, by consequence, the Irish domestic banking system and the economy as a whole. All they're saying is, hey, if you're going to sell my loan to those guys in New York for 90 cents in the euro or 50 cents in the euro, let me buy it for that price. I'll refinance it with AIB, or I'll refinance it by selling the property and getting myself out of negative equity. The state, the point is, Taoiseach, the state is taking the hit. The state, you're talking about the value to the state. The state is already taking the hit. We're selling at a discount. All these people want to do is buy it at a discount. Now, Taoiseach, your government, as a mantra, says everything in the mortgage world must be dealt with on a case-by-case basis. So why, when it comes to potentially helping thousands of families, does that case-by-case principle no longer apply? This could be a win. Would you please at least take one more look and see if something can be worked out, because the solution here will profit foreign vulture funds at the cost of Irish families. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Donnelly. As I said to you already, Deputy Minister Noonan has already instructed the Department of Finance to examine this matter in consultation with the central bank. Now, you're aware that loans that are operating and that are being repaid are being repaid at par value. Obviously, the interest of acquirers in respect of a portfolio of loans would be in ones that are not performing well. And clearly, every mortgage that's signed on for has contractual obligations attached to it. And whoever would acquire the portfolio of loans will have to comply with those contractual arrangements that were set out in the very beginning when the mortgage was signed for. The additional requirements in terms of the code of conduct set out by the central bank are the basis of the instruction given by the Minister for Finance from the department to the central bank to look at the option that might arise there. And clearly it's indicated that if NAMA, for instance, were to acquire this portfolio of loans, that they would apply best practice to it. So I know that it's of concern, obviously, to people, and I've heard the public reports. But I want you to understand that the Minister for Finance is well aware of this and has given his instructions to the Department of Finance in consultation with the central bank to see what might be the best option in the event of who might acquire the portfolio of loans at the end. So this is a process that's going on here. If the state, as you say, were to take a hit and were to go down through all of these loans individually, it would be both complex and probably very time-consuming. I think if you look at the portfolio of loans in its entirety, there are quite a number in there that are performing well and that are being repaid. They're probably not of any great interest to an acquirer because they're operating at par as they are being repaid. It's the ones that are in difficulty that are of interest to them. So that's the subject of discussions and consultations between finance and the central bank.
Thank you. That completes leaders' questions for today.